Hello everybody, it's the Doctor, and today we're going to be doing another SCP. Today it's SCP-003, Biological Motherboard. Let's begin. Please, for the love of God, let me be able to do this. Alrighty then, hello, sorry about that everybody. The thing wasn't available. It was way too small to see on that. I should have checked it out beforehand. But let's begin. SCP-003, Object Class Euclid. SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organism of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-003. In the event of total power failure, if SCP-003-1 begins to increase its mass, aligned personnel must engage in skin contact with SCP-00-1. Ideally, personnel may use the body heat to return SCP-003-1 to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in event of SCP-003 reaching activation temperature lasting a minimum of until SCP-003-1 advances fully into its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-003's containment area must first be examined for body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-003-1 are to immediately report sterilization afterwards. SCP-003-1 must not be removed from SCP-003-2 except in case of emergency procedures detailed among any sufficient change in SCP-003-2's rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-003-2 must be supplied with power via the source designated generator 003-IX at all times. SCP-003 consists of two related components of separate origin, referred to as SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2. SCP-003-1 appears to be composed of a children hair and nail of unknown biological similar to SCP and SCP arranged in a configuration similar to that of the computer motherboard. Testing grows SCP-003-1 to predate earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. SCP-003-1 is considered sentient but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. SCP-003-1 was found on a stone tablet SCP-003-2 on which currently resides. The runes on SCP-003-2 are not part of any known language and emit pale flickering light patterns. SCP-003-2 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging SCP-003-2. SCP-003-2 is capable of controlling emissions of radiation, including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. SCP-003-2 contains an internal power resource of an anomalous nature which appears to have been losing power since several centuries before discovery. It is discovered probably that SCP-003-2 was created for the purpose of containing SCP-003-1, particularly interpreted data recovered from SCP-003-2 may be referred to the past and or potential future LK class restructuring event caused by SCP-003-1. SCP-003 was located on a remote viewing system of SRV-04 beta. It appears possible that SRV-04 beta was deliberately contacted by SCP-003-2. Other organizations have also been alerted to SCP-003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, SCP-003-2 does not appear to be sentient based on its lack of reaction to MO3-Gloria analysis and procedures. When SCP-003 drops below the temperature of 45 degrees Celsius, both components react. First, SCP-003-1 emits a growth state characterized by a potential increase in mass. This growth state consists of two stages in both SCP-003-1, particularly fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with any surrounding inorganic material, including atmospheric elements, and non-living organic material, including cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. The first stage is always the same. SCP-003-1 will first increase its mass and then take a form similar in shape to an aphthoid brittle star, or 15 meters in diameter, including what appears to be a central process of 3 meters in diameter. It will form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment and will partially convert the area around it to an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-003-2 seems immune from conversation. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when SCP-003 comes into contact with living organic material. SCP-003 appears to template itself off of the organic material and will attempt to communicate with organisms that match its initial template or templates. In its second stage, SCP-003-1 may pause, slow, or change its growth, and will also convert inorganic and non-living organic elements into functionally similar structures while anonymously altering their physical makeup. The growth is consistent in the first stage and the second stage. SCP-003-1's growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90% so long as SCP-003-1 remains in contact with living organic material. The percentage is determined by the complexity of the organisms in contact with SCP-003-1. SCP-003-1 appears to devote a large amount of processing powers to analysis of living organic materials. During each of SCP-003-1's growth stages, SCP-003-2 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibits SCP-003-1's growth or reverse this growth when the temperature of SCP-003-1 rises above 100 degrees Celsius. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anomalous means. Addendum 003-01. Acting on information gathered from a linguistic analysis of SCP-003-2's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03-Gloria has managed to establish a link between SCP-003 and for analysis of functions. SCP-003-1 must now be considered sentient and is to be kept at a minimum of 1 kilometer from and the resulting byproduct at all times. Amendment 003-02. SCP-003-2's power loss has been exacerbated by the processors formed by and SCP-003 Gloria in order of 05-10 M03-Gloria will continue procedures. Amendment 003-03. During M03 Gloria procedures, SCP-003-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structure growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees Celsius. Growth and mass increase of SCP-003-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, in which time a sustained radiation spike was produced by SCP-003-2 in response. SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. New growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2 ceased all detectable activities. SCP-003-2 did not resume activity until connected to an external power source. SCP-003-2's rooms glowed uniformly gray and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. SCP-003-2 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees Celsius without external power supplies by generators 003-3 through 4. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Addendum 003-4. The procedures detailed in Addendum 003-3 was repeated, and SCP-003-1 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, SCP-003-2 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. SCP-003-1's growth stopped for 36 seconds, that then resumed at its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, SCP-003-1 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment, in particular converting its environment, SCP-003-1 then breached containment, entering the observation gallery, where 9 members of M03-Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, SCP-003-1 encompassed them in rapidly growing appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. SCP-003-1 then resumed growth and rearranged the component parts of the center of its former shape of a 3-meter-tall female humanoid with peripheral tentacles shifting to extrude primarily from SCP-003-1's newly formed hair and spine. SCP-003-1 was produced rudimentary vocalizations in an apparent initialization initial attempt to communicate with researchers. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad of agents. The individual claimed to be acting on orders of 04-10 in an attempt to communicate with SCP-003-1. Following this incident, Agent Jackson of M03 Gloria successfully restored power to SCP-003-2 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius. SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of M03-Gloria affected by SCP-003-1 were afterwards found to be physically unharmed with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of SCP-003 formed containment areas did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Amendment 003-05. In light of the previous incident, 05-10 was removed from 05 Council by joint decision of 05 05 and 05 M03-Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended. So, here's my opinion on this. This is what I got out of it. So it seems that it's a circuit board that needs constant attention to, or else it could possibly be the end of the world. And it gains its power mainly by contact with humans. That's just about all that I could get. If you understand more, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.